We had a pretty darn good game last night or yesterday at 11 o'clock. We took Baylor down, that stupid arena that was usually way more. You could see a lot more green seats, but yesterday they filled in more seats because it was the last conference game. And
Can you turn my headphones down just a little bit? It's pretty loud.
is that better?
Yep, that's better.
Yeah.
We don't need. This isn't. That's a big deal. Yeah, you're right. It was last time they were going to play in that place, so then they have to shrink their stadium because they can't get people to show up to a basketball game.
It was kind of a definitely senior day feel of the game though. Baylor would play definitely off. They didn't, and we just showed all the fight that they didn't show. I feel like, and we just made shots finally. The spirit of the team has completely turned, and hopefully it can continue on to March, because I feel like the spirit is exactly what we would need to make a run in March. And man, it's crazy how different one game can change the whole season and one move. And now next week on, it won't be about Caleb Grill and how we got kicked off the team. It's going to be about how we're emerging from the losing streak and hopefully turning it around. And that's what we're doing. And TJ, if any of the fan base had any doubt that TJ doesn't know what he was doing, I think he proved that pretty quickly, because we just literally took it to the woodshed to some seniors of Baylor that hadn't won a national championship. And it's just, I don't know, it's pretty exciting. Would you guys feel about it?
I think the reason that one of the big keys to our success is we didn't give them many second chance points in the first half. I mean, our rebounding was the key. And, when they weren't making shots, they weren't also getting offensive rebounds. And that's what let us stretch out the lead a little bit. The most impressive part was, they got it down to single digits in the second half, and we figured out a way to get it back to double digits. So, I mean, Fran Fraschilla was pretty complimentary to TJ about the coaching job he did. And he said that this was pure coaching. And I was on my way back from Des Moines. I got a chance to go see the comedian Shane Gillis on Friday night, where you, Thomas, and I both went. And I was on my way home listening to the first half on the radio. And when Holly came off the bench in the first half, I said, "Oh my God, what is going on?" But that was actually kind of cool that got everybody in the game so early. So,
yeah, what'd you think, Michael?
Yeah, I mean, I think Thomas hit on the head. It totally changes how we look at the season. I mean, you look at, I would say, Twitter, gosh, the sky was falling. Some people were saying we should fire TJ, which is absurd. And we played harder than them. I think the senior night thing is whatever, and there was a few people I saw too. There was like, yeah, Baylor had nothing to play for, but that's not true. Baylor could have been second in the Big 12 if they would have won. Now they're fourth and playing us again in a week. So I think that point is not really well proven. But I think, I like what TJ did. There's some guys that haven't played for a month that I think proven that they can be helpful. I think Hassan Ward, we've been saying that for a month. I don't know where he went, but it's hard to complain about anything he does in the court when he plays. I mean, he plays hard. He's a really good defender. I mean, he stayed in front of Adam Flagler for a possession, and he shows he's pretty versatile. So I hope he continues to do that. And I think it also helps our older guys too, because we are in a young team, and our guys have been playing a lot of minutes. Jaron Holmes, Gabe have played a ton of minutes, and just getting them. I mean, I think Hassan and Eli played 13 minutes total, but I mean, those 13 minutes go a long way when you're playing on 23, 24-year-old knees like Oshun and Jaron are. So I don't know. I think I'm all the way back in again. I said we were going to beat Baylor before the game. Everyone said I was crazy. And everyone forgets last year we had a 3-game losing streak in the year, including losing Texas Tech in the Big 12 tournament, where we got beat. Well, what was the score last year? 41-72 in the Big 12 tournament last year. Do you guys remember that?
No, I don't.
It was 41 points in the Big 12 tournament, and then we went on to win 2 in a row and make the Sweet 16. So things have been worse. We're still one of the best defensive teams in the country. We are like 5-2 against the top, or 5-3 against the top 4 teams in the Big 12 who are really good. I think all 4 of the top 4 teams in the Big 12 could win the national title, except Texas. And I don't know. I'm excited. I think TJ is a hell of a coach. He's really good in neutral site tournaments. So I think whoever we get is not going to be happy to be matched up with us. I'm a few bracketologies pulled up. ESPN, I think, has us at a 6 seed right now. And CBS has us on the bubble as an 8 seed. What after yesterday?
The deal with CBS.
I don't understand that. There are totally Big Ten homers, it seems, because they have 10 Big Ten teams in, including Wisconsin, who's currently 3rd to last in the Big Ten. So I don't totally get that. But yeah, I think it was good.
After yesterday, CBS still has us as a bubble team.
Yeah, they have us as an 8 seed, but then they have like a long list of bubble teams, and we're on it. I don't under, but whatever.
Like, what if we don't make the tournament? How many tournament teams that didn't make the tournament beat 5 top 10 teams?
None.
Yeah, I mean, we have the most. We beat 8 top 25 teams, which is the most in the country, and 5 top 10 wins, which I'm pretty sure is the most in the country. I think the Big Ten conference has 5 top 10 wins the entire year. I don't actually know that, but I'm pretty sure it sounds right to me.
The Hawks just went down to the Huskers here about 10 minutes ago too. So
I don't know if you guys watched that. Sam Hoiberg looked pretty good.
And I didn't realize his little brother's playing for TCU, or he's at TCU. They said that on the radio.
Charlie
His twin
Hoiberg
brother.
is on
The
the
other one
TCU
is-
roster?
Well, I don't know. I haven't had a chance to look it up yet, but I was listening to Gary Dolphin on the way over here to listen to the Hawks lose, and they said that his twin brother is at TCU. Now, it didn't say specifically on the team, but I haven't had a chance to look it up yet.
I'm looking it up. I feel like that would have been brought up when we played TCU. But
I would think so too, but yeah.
So yeah, what I thought of what really changed the game against Baylor was the emergence of Watson and Ward. Like you
Yes.
said, Ward and Watson. Like going back and watching, I even went back and kind of watched the game before the first game we played him, and we had Ward and because Jazz was still hurt, so Ward and Watson came in and played more of those minutes. But I feel like maybe that's what we've been kind of missing is the length from the bench that gets the nick balls and Ward. And I feel like Ward and Watson, Ward is different from Robert Energy's because Robert Energy just has 100% energy all the time. But Ward picks and chooses how to use his athleticism, I feel like. And like he doesn't overdo it, I feel like, as much as Robert Energy does. But Robert Energy, like, I feel like that's why he's on the court so much, and like the fan base is so confused, like why like he'd make so many boneheaded plays, but like it's just because like he's going for it. Because like if you just look at our players on our offense, who is creating their own shot? Like, yes, we're complaining about Big Robert Energy trying to create their own shot, but how many of our players are out there trying to create their own shot? Someone has to do it.
Yeah.
And like,
yeah,
we have those possessions where no one's doing anything. Like, we need someone to do something. And like Rob can not have like 9 bad possessions in a row and you can get like 3 or 4 good in a row. I feel like the team really rides that wave of positivity, and Watson and Ward are really some of those players that really feed off of those positive energy, and it can really domino towards Iowa State's way, because the way we play defense, it's exactly how it benefits the offense. And when we get nick balls and create turnovers, we have way more shots on offense, and it's just exciting to see Ward and the team looked like they're having fun again, and TJ's running around the whole game. And it's just if we just can win the first game of Kansas City, we can just be really dangerous, because all it takes is one win and our whole fan base is down there getting cranked up and they're going into Kansas City, and we just ride that wave, and we're going to it can be a fun March for us. So
like I mean, we have to have Rob. I mean, Rob's got to play well to not be a negative as far as, you know, turning the ball over or whatever. I mean, he's given us some great minutes. You know, he obviously is limited in some of the stuff that he does, but he still is in there battling. And man, I tell you what, you know, how much has he improved since he stepped on campus too? I mean, he's much better. He's a much better player than he was the beginning of the season last year, even towards the end of the season, in my opinion. But he's still such an adventure when he shoots free throws. I mean, man, I took your little brother to the West Virginia game, and and he goes up and knocks down 2 free throws like he's Fred Hoiberg, and then the next 2 look like they might land in the parking lot. I mean, it's just so all over the map, and it's but
some of the free throws look like they get blocked.
But like the thing is, like with him is like he can have 10 bad plays in a row, but he's still gonna go for it. Like
Right,
there's so many
really hard,
past
yeah.
Iowa State players where they have 2 or 3 bad plays and they're checked out for weeks.
When was the
let
last
alone
time? When was the last time
possessions.
you said after one of our games the reason we lost is because we didn't play hard?
It's been a while.
It's not in the TJ era.
No,
Never.
we've had a lot of like stagnant offense, but it's
Right, but
just
that
like
isn't
no one can make a shot. It's like that's not the coach's fault. It's just like especially the last 2 years, we basically have been bundling together a team to go out there and play against like teams that have like rosters of 5 stars and like Kansas and like other than Texas Tech had turmoil and like Texas obviously had up and down like but Kansas and Baylor have been the most like solid like teams in the conference and to sweep
For the
Baylor
last
this
10
year.
years.
And the sweep Baylor this year is just a testament of this season. It's just like
It doesn't make a ton of sense if you look at it on paper either.
I'm not
No.
like saying like we got swept by OP State, we got swept by West Virginia, but we beat Baylor, who won the national championship 3 years ago or 2 years ago.
But,
Yeah, we swept TCU.
What team in the Big 12 can you say that we match up athlete to athlete against? Zero. Nobody. I mean, I had
Oklahoma probably.
maybe. I mean,
Yeah.
but
They've got 2 of the Mountain Men playing that aren't
Yeah, they were
much quicker than you, Dad. So
well, they're playing the banjo at the halftime show. So, but because I was at the West Virginia game, I had a fantastic seat, which is another story in itself. In case the person sitting next to me is listening to this, but you look at the West Virginia athletes, and holy mackerel! I mean, it's not even close. They have so many more athletes than we do.
it doesn't matter in
But-
basketball though. Like it's not football. You can't athlete wins consistently, and that's what TJ does. I mean, we're playing against much higher recruited players until next year. But gosh, we just play so hard. And like I was talking to Dad earlier, like the way we play defense is all 5 guys have to be locked in the entire time or it doesn't work.
Right.
Like if we have Brian Peterson guarding someone, no shame to Brian, but like he wasn't the best defender. It's like if we have 1 weak link, they just can exploit that. But we don't this year. Everyone is locked in. Our rotations are always, they're never late. And I think I like what you guys said about Rob. Obviously, he plays really hard, but I think what TJ did last night only makes Rob better because Rob plays so hard, but he gets tired. And when he gets tired, I feel like he makes more mistakes. But if he only has to play 22 minutes a game because Hassan can come in and give him 10, Oshun can play 20 to 24 minutes a game, Rob can play hard the entire time and then go sit out and catch his breath. So I really like the twist because, I mean, if you look at the schedule, we needed to change something. And obviously, we'll get into the Caleb Grill stuff later, but gosh, it looked pretty good. And Baylor had no clue what to do against their offense. They had 19 points with a minute left in the first half. And they just threw the ball a really good offense.
They just threw the ball to us directly a couple times. I mean, just like it's straight, like we were running their offense.
Yeah, the amount of curveballs that TJ threw in this game, though, he threw straight junk balls. He threw the CU of energy out there. He threw the Ward, who hasn't played in so long. Throw him out
Eli
there.
King, who's never played.
Eli King goes out there. He's out there hustling and
tried to bank one from the baseline.
Yeah, but
and jumped on top of someone 5 seconds into the game.
Yeah,
but he plays hard and he can defend too.
Yes.
And he is a freak athlete. So I mean, I think his ceiling's pretty high. And you watch him and Conrad on the bench; they're locked in the entire game and are really good teammates. So I think that if they get a few minutes here and there, it only helps kind of boost your morale, especially if they do something good. Like the team just freaks out. So
But Watson also, I mean, geez, Watson played. He had some passes to Trey King. You know, he turned down a couple shots that an 18-year-old probably normally takes, and he got an assist out of it. And because our interior passing yesterday was fantastic. So
it's gonna be. I think that's one thing that a lot of teams really don't do. They don't use their post to kind of move the ball, and our guys, for the most part, move the ball really well. And yeah, Demarion had his, I would say, most mature game as a Cyclone. He looked really good. Didn't look overwhelmed or play too fast. He just kind of let the game come to him. And gosh, you give him a year or two to get a little more muscle, and I think his ceiling is really high too. And he just makes winning plays, and that's what all our guys do. They just play hard and they play for each other. So I think the Big 12 tournament is a wash now with beating Baylor. If we beat Baylor again, that's house money, and then I would say that fans can obviously take over Kansas City. But I think we're going to be a really tough matchup the first weekend in the NCAA tournament just because of the way we play.
Yeah. Yeah. The teams, like we were watching the Nebraska Iowa game today, and Nebraska looks like they're trying to mimic what we do on defense, but they're not anywhere close to as good at it as we are. I mean,
I was just bring up this. So what I just thought about this today. So just think about how many different situations TJ's been of like weird situations where players leave Iowa State. Like Lucas Steiger's situation was probably a very weird one. So like this was probably one of those. How many other ones? Like so, Xavier Foster, other one. Like he's been with so many like had so many examples of how this could how many examples of like bad cancers of like affecting March. Like, okay, if I could have just got if that Iowa State team back in the day just would have gotten rid of this one bad cancerous in the locker room, maybe we could have had a longer run in March.
but you're also implying that Caleb was a cancer, and we don't know that for a fact. I mean, we will never know exactly what happened.
Just from someone that played basketball for so
Right,
long,
I
like
understand.
seeing what locker rooms are like, it's just like you can't look at that game yesterday and not think that.
Yeah, I understand, but I said before the game, I said, I've been around so many teams that have had something like this happen where, I had when I was coaching high school, I had a kid get killed in a snowmobile accident, for crying out loud, in the middle of the season. And we come out and beat the team that won the conference the next night and had really no business playing, or not the next night, but 2 days later, 3 days later. And we really had no business being in that game, but we still, we rallied around each other. And I would thought that that could happen yesterday because, you really start to circle the wagons a little bit, unless you have a really broken locker room, which I don't think. I mean, this is, I might as well bring this up now, but I had a front row seat to the whole Caleb thing at the West Virginia game. And I've seen enough kids with bad attitudes that I think I can tell by body language or, what they're saying under their breath or whatever. And I watched, and I wasn't looking for it, but I watched Caleb, he couldn't hardly get his leg over the stationary bike to ride the bike when he wasn't in the game. And I watched all his interactions with TJ. TJ was always coming down and seeing, whether he could go or not. And Caleb would go up and talk to him. And I never saw anything that was a red flag saying that Caleb was a problem. That's why when you texted me and said that he was gone, it just completely came out of left field. But, obviously, it couldn't have been just for one practice, but he either was really good at covering it up or he just really went off the rails after that game. I don't know. I mean, after reading his response, how he was so sorry about what happened, and he seemed like he really felt bad about it, that, you never saw that from any time anybody else got kicked off. I mean, did you see, Boo Paulo go out and say that he was really sorry?
That was a totally different.
But he was really sorry that he put himself in that position. Or Bryce John Jones, right? God rest his soul. I mean, he never came out and said that, he was really sorry about what happened at the UAB thing. I mean, I don't know. It's going to take a lot more convincing to me
because he grew up an Iowa State fan and finally fulfilled his dream, and then he couldn't finish his dream because something happened. Obviously,
he screwed up. I mean, obviously,
no one just gets kicked off the team. It's just like, I don't know.
But I think you're right, though. I think TJ's been around the block enough that he's seen that if somebody is starting to divide somebody, that doesn't necessarily make you a cancer, though. I mean, if you're dividing, people are having to pick sides, or you're even on the team itself, not necessarily with TJ, it's for the greater good to say, see you later. And I think he probably was told, look, you're going to sit for a while, or you're going to be gone. And he chose to be gone. I mean, I don't know. It's too bad. I feel bad for everybody involved, except I just hope it's the turning point, and we can go. But so, getting back to your original question, though, was TJ here with the Bryce John Jones thing in UAB, or was he gone already?
I think he was
wasn't here,
in Washington at the time.
I think he was still at Iowa State. He came back. He he was out in Washington only for a very short stint. He came
Yeah,
back-
because
came
then
back, then he can because he was it was going to be because it was like they interviewed the former assistant or not former assistant, the current assistant TJ Ausberger, and then the
That's
outside
right.
hire. They
Oh.
because the university guy wanted an outside hire who had experience, not TJ.
and Pollard wanted to hire him.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he had to have been there
So
because that was Fred's last game. So I think Thomas, I think you're onto something. I mean, I think he's
and
seen,
he was like around the Royce was actually, but obviously Royce was a huge like star and like he was like the biggest player and like he elevated the team. But we've heard like from past players in the past, like under like stories that aren't public, that they were not exactly like they weren't exactly that sad that he left.
well, and
the
I,
NBA.
but I think that's a different situation though. Royce is a lot. I mean,
Yeah.
there's no other way to describe it. And he's I think he was, he was really good to us when we interaction that we had with him, and even when you were little. And so I'm not going to say anything negative about it, but he is a big personality, and you know what it's like being around big personalities. I mean, it's the attention gravitates to you, not necessarily on the court, but with every interaction with the team.
Yeah.
And so I think that's more of a, when he was gone, they kind of got to take a breath
Yeah,
and not
right.
be,
Yeah.
on edge all the time, because I don't think he was yelling at Fred, or, he wasn't a problem with the team. But anyway, we've moved on from Caleb. It's too bad. I feel sorry for somebody that, actually came back and had his dream of playing at Iowa State. But, we're moving on to bigger and brighter things, hopefully.
Yeah, I think what we just have learned over the last 2 years is I think we probably just got to go with what TJ does. He
Right.
knows what he's doing. He's going to put Iowa State first, and it's kind of what he said in his first press conference after it happened. But yeah, I mean, as a lifelong Iowa State fan, you feel for Caleb, and I hope he is doing okay, and hope to see him play somewhere else. I think he's a good basketball player and probably could help someone else too. And but first and foremost, I hope he gets the help he needs and is doing okay. But yeah, I think TJ, I don't know. He just knows what buttons to push and what little twists to make. I mean, I pulled up last year's schedule, and like everyone talks about this year, the sky was falling, fire TJ, which I can't believe people still say that. But we ended the year 3-game losing streak, getting murdered by Okie State 36-53. Home with Baylor, lost by 7 at Baylor, and then lose to Texas Tech 41-72 in the Big 12 tournament. So we barely squeak into the NCAA tournament and then beat LSU and Wisconsin. So like, I don't know. I argue last year we scored 36 points in a game at home.
Yep, I was there. I've been to the 2 lowest scoring games in Hilton Coliseum history, and our grandparents who went to like 50 years of Iowa State basketball didn't see that.
And
slow
the crazy thing is, after that game that happened, we were on a 4-game winning streak. We won at TSU, beat Oklahoma and West Virginia at home, won at K-State, and then scored 36 points at home against Okie State.
Yeah.
People forget. So I think things are going to be okay.
Yeah. Everybody has a tendency to remember the good things, not the bad. And the way we ended the season last year is pretty easy to forget about those things.
For sure. But I think we're a better team this year. Like we're better defensively. We're deeper for sure. I mean, last year we could barely go 2 or 3 deep in our bench. I think yesterday we proved we have 10 guys that can contribute and not be total liabilities.
You know who would be nice to have this year? Trey Jackson. Trey Jackson would be kind of nice to have.
Yeah, you're right.
Because he was low-key a decent backup point guard last year in that state tournament. He didn't turn the ball over, and he's obviously had a great year wherever I can't remember where he went.
East Carolina,
but he's been filling up there. But it just sucks that Williams got Achilles injury, because if he would be just really needed right now, because like you said, we have a lot more depth than last year, but it's not exactly, the cover's not exactly completely full because of like injuries, and obviously Caleb getting kicked off the team, and but
we're just down guards.
I still think us subbing as much as we did yesterday, and like the energy, I feel like really took the pressure off of Taman having to bring the energy and bring like because he's not like, he obviously doesn't have the offensive skills yet. And when you have Taman on the field or on the court, Robert Jones and like, well, let's just say Ward. Like that's like three guys that really can't really create their own offense. Like so that's like three guys you really don't have to guard if you're being like if you're Scott Drew or like an opposing coach. So it's just when you put in Watson and like when Gabe can hit a shot, and he's been hitting more shots lately, and I think he's finally getting some more confidence, and I feel like he's feeling less pressure off too, because especially when Ashuni's taken, like when the adjustment of putting Robert Energy in the starting lineup and putting Ashun, like swapping their minutes, like when having Ashun come off the bench, I feel like that's a good switch to pace, because Ashun, I think he's been dinged up. I think it's very, very, very low key, and obviously the minutes have been very restricted, because I think he'd be playing a lot more if he was 100%, because he's been one of the best big men we've had in a long time. But I think with us just restricting his minutes for so long, I feel like hopefully it benefits us in March, because I think he could really turn it up, and like he could lead us, have 10 crazy minutes and lead us to the Sweet 16, or who knows, the Elite 8. You know
What do you think it is? His ankle?
I don't. It's. I think it's a
know.
mixture. I think.
He's rolled his ankle probably 4 times this year. I don't know, but he hasn't played many games more than 30 minutes. So yeah, I think Thomas is probably right with that. But yeah, I think we're gonna. I mean, everyone's been obviously singing praises for the whole conference, and we're gonna find out quick if we're as good as we think we are. And I think we are. So I think we could easily see 5 or 6 Big 12 schools in Sweet 16. I don't think that's crazy to say.
Yeah, Trey Jackson's at Western Carolina, not Eastern Carolina. He's averaging 16 points a game this year.
Hey, that's awesome. Good for him.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like that's what's different about college basketball. I feel like now, like that player would be still on our team if he didn't have the like going out, like transferring right away, and like not having to sit out. I feel like Trey Jackson obviously would have still been on our team, and I feel like there's a couple of other ones, but obviously there's the good and the bad of that. But like some of the players that we miss on can transfer away, and we can get or like, you know, like TJ could tell the players like, hey, you're not going to play ever. Sorry. Like, you know, like those type of players. Like I feel like that's better for, like, obviously Trey's not one of those players because he's obviously scoring so much, but if he was scoring like 3 points a game, we wouldn't be like, oh, we're pretty sad about that.
Yeah,
Like,
Trey's scoring 16 points a game, shooting 44% from 3.
Wow.
yeah, he's always a good shooter.
Yeah. Well, I mean, but he's, you know, hindsight's 2020. I mean, we're down 2 guards right now. I mean, who would have predicted that? I mean,
Is it bad that phrase? I literally have like PTSD. Just hearing the word 2020 reminds me of like that year. It's like not the year of, obviously the year sucked, but like the worst Iowa State basketball year of all time. Like,
yeah.
just like,
Well, yeah, it was only 2 years ago. It's pretty nuts.
There's a lot of things about 2020 you can have PTSD about.
yeah. But it was just like we literally had to like take our program and just, all right, control delete the roster, and then it's like, all right, bring the guy we're gonna bring in anyways, who like has a wife that played Iowa State, who's gonna have a jersey hanging out and wants to be at Ames, Iowa. He said multiple times that he wants to like grow his kids in Ames, Iowa on podcasts and radio, but now we're gonna hire a guy that has some head coaching experience instead.
Yeah.
We have him now. I love him.
Yeah. Well, let's not go relive the past because that gets depressing in a hurry.
But yeah,
So I guess who are the guys who hadn't played much in the last month that you were most like gets you most excited going to March from yesterday, you think?
Oh, Demarius, in my opinion. I mean, he's just so long. I mean, him and Hassan, I mean, you know, you can't teach, you know, the wingspans those guys have. I mean, neither one of them have shown their proclivity at shooting. I mean, and that's what we need. But, you know, the thing about Taman is, you know, he shot 22% from the 3-point line in high school. And so it isn't like he's going to show up this year and be a 40% 3-point shooter. So, but he covers it up so well because somebody will back off of him at 15 feet and he still figures out a way to get by him. So, and he does, I mean, there's so many things that Taman does well. He's a great rebounder, great defender. He turns the ball over maybe a little bit too much, but he's 19 years old or whatever he is and plays a lot of minutes, tougher than heck. I mean, obviously, you know, you watch him shoot a free throw. I mean, the kid's jacked. I mean, he's obviously knows his way around the weight room.
Mm-hmm.
So
comparing him to Monte as a freshman.
Yeah.
Just going back,
Monte.
obviously Monte like has an NCAA record as a freshman, but just like obviously in the NBA, but just like go back and look at Monte as a freshman and just like look at Taman now. And it's just like crazy how like Taman, like what's Taman gonna look like as a senior?
Yeah, I know. Because Taman is just, when you look at Monte physically as a freshman,
Mhm.
like you were saying, I mean, Taman is way ahead of
Mhm.
where Monte was at the time. But and that's not a fair comparison. I mean, comparing any freshman to Monte Morris, one of the
But if Monte
best ones
didn't,
ever.
if Monte didn't have DeAndre Kane,
Right.
who knows what Monte would have looked like as a freshman?
Right.
Because they were
Yeah.
literally talking about in that off season before going in that year that they were thinking about redshirting Monte because his weight was that low that they were afraid that he was going to get injured because he was that skinny. I think Tyrese Halliburton had the same thing, which is kind of ironic.
Yeah.
It was in the 3-point contest in the NBA.
All-Star.
After the game, one thing, after the whole Caleb thing, one thing I thought that was kind of cool is that Milan, I want to make a sandwich, whatever his last name is.
Momcelovich.
He came out and said he can't wait to get to Iowa State. I mean, made it on a post on Twitter, and obviously he's really excited about coming, and we're excited about having you come, buddy.
He dropped 37 last week in a game.
Yeah. So, and then we get to watch Omaha in the state tournament this week, and I just saw somebody pick Kennedy from Cedar Rapids to beat them in the state tournament. So that ought to be fun. I guarantee you that Omaha is going to step up the intensity considerably, knowing he's on the statewide stage next week. And then, this is a side note because we're talking about men's basketball, but got to watch Audie Crooks last night. And I tell you what, she's about as tall as all of our post players we have right now, but she never drops a pass. Every pass that she catches is a lob, and she never drops it. She catches every pass in traffic. Great free throw shooter.
Dropped 49.
Yeah, I mean, but again, everybody's criticism is she plays 1A basketball. Well, this is what Bishop Garrigan did this year. They went out and found a game 2 weeks before the state tournament to test them, and they drove to Dyke New Hartford and played them and laid it on them pretty good. I think it was a double-digit win at Dyke New Hartford, who also just won the 2A state championship. So yeah, she's going to be she's a great kid, or she's got a lot of relatives in Fort
People
Dodge.
say that same thing about Heinrich and Collison when they played.
Yeah, Collison played
2A
basketball, whatever it was. I mean, so she's gonna be a fun one. Being a local kid, and she's gonna have a lot of family around.
I don't think anyone can knock Bill Fennerly's eye for talent, so that's probably a pretty good indication that she's pretty good.
Score that many points at state, at any level,
state championship,
anyone,
and they were pressing. I mean, they talk about, they make comments about, is she going to be able to handle the Big 12? They pressed Garrigan the entire game. And so she was dealing with that as well. And Nualfana played fantastic. But, she just, it'll be interesting to see what happens when she goes against another 6'4" kid.
But like she's coming into like Emily Ryan's there,
right?
Janarski's there,
right?
Like so many veterans that can just like show her the way, and like she's not going there like Lindell came in there as a freshman, then like, all right, I'm the guy. It's like,
right.
She's going there and she's joining a lot of studs, and
yeah, we got our girl guards are fantastic. Emily Ryan is so tough. I mean, but anyway, so getting sidetracked a little bit, but that was a fun game to watch them. They just hammered Texas Tech yesterday. I was kind of hoping that the men were going to get back in time because Hilton was pretty full. Have them come in and watch the women's game and get a big round of applause from the crowd, but I don't know if they would have got back in time or not. But.
Yeah.
And nobody talks about Jelani Hamilton, who is probably the sleeper out of the bunch. He is really good.
Yeah, I was talking to Thomas. If Omaha stays for 2 years, this could be like a Naslong George Dean type class. Their ceiling is so high, and the thing is, these kids are all athletic, and obviously they know TJ's style. So they're going to come in and commit to defense. So I don't think our defense is going to waver year to year. But you need kids that can score. I don't know. I just have this feeling that TJ is going to be playing in a Final Four in the next 5 years.
Yeah,
which is wild.
It takes a little luck that goes along with it from a matchup standpoint, and
for sure. But the thing is, defense travels, and it's not really matchup dependent.
Right.
You look at our games that we lost by a lot. It was teams that lit it up from minute one, which offensively we're just not built to come back if you're down 10.
Right.
But I mean, if it's a one possession game, the whole game, like we can get a stop when we need it. So I don't know. And you just watch these other conferences. Gosh, like the Big Ten sucks this year. They're so bad. Like today they went in, there was like 7 teams that were 11-8, and they were all tied for second behind Purdue.
So that means they're all this decent or they're all not good.
Yeah, just like if you're an Iowa fan, like if they had that Garza this year, they would be like the best team in the nation by far because like that team was loaded and like
Yeah, they had Luka Garza and 2 Murrays.
yeah, it's just and it's weird to see your Fred. Yeah, Fred beat Fran again. Actually, yeah, it's kind of nice to hear. I didn't watch the game, but yeah,
Gosh, and Sam Hoiberg can shoot the ball, man.
Yeah. He's an 89% free throw shooter or something.
Went 1 for 4 today.
He did?
Yeah, I missed 3 at the last minute.
Oh, I was not obviously paying that close of attention.
So like to bring it back to Taman, I think Taman is literally gonna like to bring it back to like let's just compare it to like what Campbell there was looking like. So Taman might be what Campbell had as Brock Purdy as a freshman. Like so that era went boom. They just went like just really right out the wave. And like Brock got Reese Hall. That's gonna be Omaha Blue and Milan, like and just
Milan's Charlie Kohler.
And like things are just gonna Taman's like he's gonna be the glue, I feel like, of this era because he's an Iowa State fan. He makes so many of those plays where like I'm an Iowa State fan. I dive for that ball because I want Iowa State to win. Like I don't know if that's just me. Like
yeah, I think
We're
right.
gonna have two lifelong Iowa State fans starting next year.
Yeah, it's pretty like what you could point back from the Fred era of like when TJ was there, and it's just like it all connects. And yeah, we're gonna.
The thing is, we're talking about next year.
10 national championships.
We're gonna play in the NCAA tournament in a week.
Yeah,
like we went through our childhood. Well, we went like 7 years without playing postseason basketball or something like that.
Dermot beat one ranked team, right? One ranked team.
So who's the other? I'm sorry, I'm drawing a blank here. Who's the other lifelong Iowa State fan?
Omaha Blue.
He was a life. He
He
actually
grew up in Des Moines. Grew up in Des Moines during the Fred era.
Yeah, I'm not sure that
Yeah,
that's accurate.
He's lifelong.
Doesn't matter.
Omaha
He's playing for
Collins,
us.
Well, like he didn't even remotely consider Iowa. That's no coincidence.
Yeah. So when we go out in the portal next this spring, what are we going after?
Can we?
We got to go after a big, right?
I feel like we could. I feel like we're jumping way ahead. I feel like we could wait to have that conversation at least.
We've potted once in the last 4 months. So I'm trying to cover all the bases.
So we need I feel like that time will come. I feel like TJ has something always in his back pocket because like Shashuni and Holmes this year, if we wouldn't have got them, like
home runs.
Yeah.
So speaking of the Big Ten, that's where you probably need to be pillaging. Is that why would you want to play in the Big Ten versus the Big 12?
Especially if
I mean the Big 12 is only going to get better. Oh, we just add Houston next year.
Yeah, and Houston was down.
They're going to be the number 1 overall seed.
Yeah, down 7 with 6 minutes to go and won today. That'll be a bear of a place to go play next year.
Yeah, we at Cincinnati, basketball, football is going to be brutal. BYU, basketball, football is going to be brutal. Houston, especially when they start winning, they're going to like have way more fans. I feel like they're going to get way more attention, way more media exposure. And then like their coach who was at Oklahoma,
Kelvin Sampson, he's fantastic.
He's a great coach, and like he just hasn't really gotten the love. I feel like, but I feel like
it's going to be sweet seeing him coaching Bill Self.
Yeah. Well, he already has before, but I mean, he was a huge Larry Stacey fan back in the day too. I mean, he's just
that's a great point. You bring up a great point. I mean, I think obviously the Big 12 has been the best conference probably for 3 years, like head and shoulders probably. Coaching is not. I mean, look at coaches top to bottom. We've had 2 get fired this year, which is whatever. But you have Bill Self, Scott Drew, who are like 2 probably top 5, top 10 coaches in the country. Jamie Dixon, really good. Bob Huggins, really good.
Hall of Famer.
Jerome Tang for Kansas State is obviously a really good coach because K-State sucked last year.
Yeah.
TJ, obviously, no bias, one of the best coaches in the country. Okie State's coach is pretty good.
Who's Texas going to have next year?
John Calipari.
Let's just get Rick Barnes. It's like, all right, we messed up.
Yeah.
Come on back.
I don't give who cares about Texas? They're going to go be mediocre in the SEC in both
But we still play them next year, right?
Yeah.
last time.
Yeah, last year.
Actually, yeah, we'll play them once, maybe twice. Hopefully, we get them at home.
Yeah, the question is, where's Tyrese
Yeah,
transfer
that
to
would
this year,
be
next
of
year?
course.
But he doesn't have a free transfer.
I'm predicting what's going to happen next year scheduling. All right, we're going to get Texas once. And it's going to be at home, and our students won't be there.
No way.
Oh, like
The Big 12. This new Big 12 commissioner is totally pro Big 12, so he's gonna Texas is gonna get it stuck to next year. I think
he was at the West Virginia game.
I'm just putting it out on the airways. They're like, all right,
Commissioner.
make sure that is taken care of, because
Yeah.
that would be kind of annoying. 'Cause it's like, oh, Tire Center would be like, all right,
Yeah.
all right,
yeah,
stay in
we're
Texas.
seeing Omaha put Tyrese in a poster next year will be pretty sweet. Yeah, I don't know if you guys saw the news that this commissioner is already in the middle of poaching for Pac-12 schools.
Yeah, Pac-12's dead.
So funny.
Is Colorado one of them?
Colorado, Utah, Arizona State, I think.
Which I would love. Which like
Arizona
keeping
State top 10 team.
Utah BYU rivalry. Arizona
Going back to
State.
Colorado would be so awesome too.
Yeah.
Like that Arizona State game, we would probably be watching that buzzer beater they won. That we wouldn't probably be watching that game because they're in the Big 12.
Who coaches at Arizona? It's Hurley's at Arizona State, right? Who's the coach at Arizona?
That's a good
It
question.
used to be Lute Olson, back in the day, so everybody kind of paid attention to it. But and that one guy that kind of got in trouble with
Tommy
Yeah.
Lloyd.
because DeAndre Ayton was gonna he literally got paid, and like they literally just gave him up. Like DeAndre, imagine one of Iowa State players publicly got paid $100,000. What the NCAA would have done to our program?
Yeah.
They did nothing to the Arizona.
Yeah, it's still Nebraska should be in the Big 12. I'm sorry. I mean, the drivable road games. I mean, Arizona State. I mean, BYU.
Fun places to go though.
We should play Nebraska. Bring the mayor back to Highland Coliseum. I want it next year.
Yeah.
That'd be kind of fun.
I mean, we never play Northwestern. We hardly ever play Minnesota. I mean, we have some drivable road games that we could have for non-conference that we just never
Or Illinois or
Yeah,
Minnesota. We used to
right.
play
We never
Minnesota every
play
once in a while.
play those guys. Yeah.
Oh well, Big Ten
I
sucks.
don't know. So if we win,
But that being said, Louis like, oh yeah, we had drivable games. Yeah, I went to that Missouri game and yeah, we got absolutely destroyed. Yeah, that's fun.
that's another one we should be at. No, another one should be in the Big
Yeah, we
12
should
too.
probably just stop going to away games.
Yeah, I'm not going
Our
to.
record is horrendous.
Yeah, Louis.
Personally going to them. Yeah, the only one is the UConn game with Royce White. That was the only one that was really fun when at the NCAA tournament.
Notre Dame
Yeah.
game is pretty fun.
Notre Dame was some fun.
We
yeah.
just
Just
absolutely murdered
lit it up.
Yeah.
Harris McGee.
Will
Ah.
Clyburn,
Yeah, so good.
freshman George Yang, who was cocky as hell and chubby, but he literally just destroyed Notre Dame.
So we win Thursday, 5 seed. Lose Thursday, 6 seed.
Yeah, I think it's hard to put us less than a 6 seed with our blind resume is so good. I don't know. Part of me, I mean, honestly, perfect world, if I could write the script, beat Baylor for a third time. Also a stat that I just learned. Everyone says it's hard to beat a team 3 times in a year. It's actually not
Yes.
true. NCAA men's basketball, 76% of the time, the team beats them for the third time. So, and I don't think it's a fluke. I think Baylor is probably our best matchup in the Big 12, which is crazy to say, is because they don't defend as well as the other teams. They're the worst team defensively in the Big 12, and we aren't that offensively gifted, but we just move the ball so well. We make them play defense for 28 seconds of possession. So I don't know. It's weird to say I feel pretty good to play Baylor again, but I do. I'm nervous because Scott Drew's a good coach. He's probably going to figure out something that's going to exploit our defense. But I don't know. But even if we lose, I'm going to take the rest because I think Oshu needs to get his legs back. If we're a 6 seed or higher, it's going to be awesome. I think Des Moines probably out of the question now with K-State finishing so much higher than us in the Big 12. But I don't know. I honestly, 6 seeds almost move better because then you are on the 2 seed side of the bracket.
Yeah.
Just can't fall to a 7. If we fall to a 7, we should
The thing
march
is, I don't
the NCAA tournament office because that's
we've already beaten, or like we've almost beat Kansas at Kansas. Like we beat Kansas and we beat Baylor twice. Like we can beat anyone. It's just like I feel like it's like what time we're gonna play. I feel like who we're playing. Like what is Big Rob Energy eating for breakfast this morning? Like it's gonna like it the way I feel like we're always about like how we start. Like if we start terrible, it's just like so hard for us to come. Like we're not the Fred teams where like we want it to start bad, and it's like okay, we'll come back, and finally we need to start. Like Fran literally like was commentating like exactly what TJ was telling him was like his plan was. I feel like, and Fran was literally just like in the back of his mind, just like commentating on what TJ was telling him. And then they just did exactly what TJ was telling them to do. And it looks he's like said at the very beginning, like TJ wants to rough this game up, and it's exactly what he did. And it was
the
literally
first
kind of
10 minutes. It was like 13-7.
literally was kind of like Fran got the script of the game before the game, and like he was just like fall like it was just that's what it kind of felt like about yesterday.
Yeah,
So right now, Lenardi's got us as a 5 in Greensboro, but they've got Creighton as a 6 in Des Moines.
yeah, I think like you said, that the venues are always a guess. So I mean, I would take a 5 seed after the last month. It feels like a win. I think 5 or 6, hard to complain about it. And like Thomas said, I mean, we've beaten one of the 1 seeds, we've beaten one of the 2 seeds, and 2 of the 3 seeds. So we're gonna be fine. I hope we play a bunch of Big Ten schools. Yeah. And I hope Texas loses the first round.
Yeah, I mean, if I know he guesses in venues, but if they drop us to a 5, why wouldn't they put us in Des Moines? Or excuse me, drop us to a 6? Why wouldn't they put us to Des Moines just purely from the ticket sales standpoint?
Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, so if Kansas and us are in Des Moines, Wells Fargo will be sold out.
Yeah, that's what
And
they
how many first weekend arenas sell out? Not many, unless Kansas
right
is
now
there,
they've got-
Kentucky's there.
Right now they've got, Lenardi, obviously, like we said, he kind of guesses with the venue part of it, but they've got Creighton, Wisconsin, Kansas State, all in Des Moines.
Yeah, he has Wisconsin. Wisconsin is finishing 3rd to last in the Big Ten.
Yeah, they've got them in the playing game against Nevada.
Oof. They have Lenardi currently has Wisconsin and Okie State out, which is, I don't know if it makes no sense. And Michigan and North Carolina currently not in the field.
Yeah, and he's got Texas as playing Iowa in the second round if Iowa wins.
Texas
Might be the first time to cheer for Tyrese in a while.
Yeah, I would cheer for Texas.
I don't know. That's hard.
Actually,
That's
I don't know.
tough-
I might cheer for Iowa, honestly.
I don't know but just to keep on the joke of them not going to Sweet 16 is enough to cheer for Texas. In my opinion, that we need to keep that joke going on for as long as we live, because it's pretty fun.
His last 4 in right now, or last 4 out. First 4 out are Utah State, Clemson, Oklahoma State. And we got Wisconsin and Penn State both in.
The way we have that joke with like the Iowa Sweet 16 is like how Iowa had that joke of like, oh, Ricky Stanzi has the same amount of bowl wins as Iowa State University.
Great comparison. Also, if you look at the rest of the bracket, it currently has West Virginia as a 10 seed. If I was a 2 seed, I would not want to play West Virginia in the second round.
I could see West Virginia losing by 20 in the first round or making the 5-4.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, the thing is West Virginia is they're always played physical, so it totally depends on the crew, the officiating crew.
That goes with us
close.
too. I mean, the officiating crew has something to do with the way we play too.
For sure.
I mean, because we're a couple fouls away from being in trouble most games.
Gosh, and if TCU is a 5 seed, TCU playing a 1 seed in Sweet 16, probably don't feel very good about that. 'Cause TCU, when they're healthy, is really good. Yeah, I don't know. It's gonna be. I mean, this tournament's gonna be nuts though, because there's not a elite team probably in the country, so it's gonna be. You could have like an elite player. You have like 6 double-digit seeds in the Sweet 16.
The second 4, then the second 4 out, which they listed as the next 4 out: Michigan, North Carolina, and Oregon.
Crazy.
That's crazy.
Remember when people said Dana Altman was going to be our next coach?
Yeah. Well, you remember when he took the Arkansas job and then went down there and then backed out?
Remember when Louis Courier, shout out Louis Courier, was pretty upset that we hired TJ and thought it was a lazy hire.
So was Cyclone Larry.
Oh, I remember when that one more doorknob from the Des Moines radio station, he's not there anymore. He's out east somewhere, but he just ripped on Jamie for hiring Fred.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah,
Yes.
John Walters like interview. Where
Yeah, he about hung up on him.
Yeah, John Walters just really like took him to town, and it's just like, yeah, I can't imagine like how mad like John Walters would have been in that interview, like just like what he went in going into it, like
Yeah.
hearing them talk a crap about like the hiring before, like just before even getting on the interview, and just like slowly building up. It was like, these guys are freaking morons.
Yes, Matt Peralt was the guy's name.
Hmm.
Yeah, speaking of John, we got to say something about today's the 20th anniversary of Pete Taylor passing. He is one of the voices that, anybody that's been a lifelong Cyclone fan remembers all the calls that he had, and had a stroke, and it was a bad deal. I went to his visitation in Hilton and listened to Larry Stacey and McCartney and all those guys speak at it, and he was a good one. It was too bad but
Yeah, I mean, you look at
Walters is turning into Pete Taylor very fast.
the voices that we've had on the radio for the last 40 years have just been. I mean, Pete
And,
Taylor
like-
was here for what, 30 years or something, and John Walters and Eric Heft are just incredible. So
Yeah.
that's one thing in 2023 that I can't believe it doesn't exist is being able to sync in the radio broadcast with the TV.
Right.
How does that not exist? We have
Yeah.
programs on the internet that can write you a research paper on any topic in like 10 seconds, but we can't figure out how to sync.
which
Like if I
would-
was ESPN or one of these media companies, I would stop hiring announcers and just contract it out to the radio.
Yeah.
Can you imagine watching every basketball game with John and Eric? I mean, you could just pick which call you wanted. It wouldn't be that hard, I think, in my dumb brain.
I'll blow your mind even more. We're so close to technology that we're gonna have technology that can just literally overlay their voice and put the voice of Pete Taylor,
Yeah.
like Eric Hefton. Like you don't have to.
Right.
They're saying weird things, but at least they kind of sound kind of nice. Because Pete Taylor, like his voice, I can't tell how many times his voice, like just like his calls, like have giving me goosebumps. Or like, because like you can tell how much, like in his voice, when something good happens, you can tell how much bad Iowa State stuff he's seen. Because like that's how much enthusiasm of like when something good happened, like that Nebraska run for the Marvin Siler almost breaks it all away. Like I wish there was video of him like when he was doing that call, because he probably was like in the air when he was calling that. Because
Well, you could always tell when you turn on the radio. Just listen to the first two sentences of Pete Taylor, and you knew where they were ahead or behind. You didn't have to hear the score. You just could tell from his mood. You guys don't remember. People don't talk about this, but Jim Zabel was the voice of the Hawkeyes forever. He's passed away now, but he used to do Iowa State games too. And so he came to Hilton. I remember as a kid, he came to Hilton and took out his WHO sign and Iowa State colors and hung it up on they used to, broadcast it from up on the walkway in that little, where the video cameras are. And he hung up his Iowa State WHO sign, and everybody in the student section started chanting "Turkey, Turkey, Zabel, Zabel, Zabel," because he was still such a Hawkeye. He was still such a Hawkeye homer, but he was doing Iowa State games.
yeah, can you imagine Gary Dolphin coming to Iowa State games trying to like locate? Yeah, I'll do double
an Iowa
dip,
State game.
double dip.
He's also awesome though.
Yeah, he is very good. Yeah,
He's gosh, yeah, that's
I'll
such
never
like
say
a-
negative.
you get like you hear those guys on the radio, just it brings you back like 15, 20 years. Like it's crazy we don't integrate it into TV because it's so fun to listen to people that cheer for your team call the game. Like
Right.
hearing Eric Heft like put his mic away and yell at the refs. Like that's awesome. Because that's what we would do if we were calling the game.
All right.
Eric Heft's
Like
like,
the
oh,
ref
that's
time.
terrible.
The ref like yelling at Eric to like tell him to calm down. It's just like imagine if Eric had got Iowa State a tee up like a technical foul, but like he's not on the bench technically.
Yeah, that would be funny.
Yeah, I mean, maybe someday we'll do like that guy for the Packers does, where he calls games on YouTube Live, because we probably would get in trouble because we were pretty psychotic when we watch.
I don't know if Eric Heff had a COVID year or not, because he could have probably played on that game yesterday. Because that's how many players TJ was playing yesterday.
Right. Eric could probably still dish it a little bit too.
That was just so like how many times we played at Baylor, we lose exactly how we lost the last 17 times we played at Baylor. Like we play really good. We just play really good. There's a couple like weird calls. Baylor does some weird, but there was no.
And we had a shot because Baylor went on a 10-0 run, cut it to 4, and I was like,
Here we go again.
Here we go. But credit to our guys. And that's the nice thing about being old. Like, very rarely this year have we totally crumbled. Like, there's been games where literally no one can make a shot and those games happen. But like, it's not because, aside from probably the Texas Tech game, it's not because we're like totally rattled and melting down. Like, Jaron is always steady. Gabe is mostly steady. So it's just, that's why I think in March we're going to be dangerous, because we're going to put the pressure on people. And if they don't execute or focus, like, they're going to turn it over 20 times. And I don't know. I just have this feeling that one of these guys that hasn't played much is just going to go off one of these games. Like, if DeMarion comes out and hits 5 threes in a game, I don't know
think
if
he's
it's going to
been
happen. He's hit
like-
three threes all year, 2 in Lawrence Fieldhouse. I don't know. I just have this feeling that one of these games that we're going to have a guy that hasn't done much. I don't know.
Weird things
I
happen
don't
in
know.
March.
This is the best 3 weeks of the year, and it's not even close. Especially when your
Yeah.
team is in the NCAA tournament. Like, I just remember, like, all those years as a kid before Royce's year, NCAA tournament was fun, but like, we were never in it. We're even close. Royce's year, we get to go to it, which is like insane. And then we win, and then we like play with Kentucky, who won it all.
Against
Now,
Anthony
like, now
Davis.
it's just like we expect to play in the NCAA tournament. We forget, like, it wasn't even in the thought.
Yeah, so that's when we drove to Louisville, went to the game. Royce dunks it on the first possession, and then in our hotel, we run into Bill Raftery and Vern Lundquist, and I get your picture taken with Vern Lundquist, and I asked him because they called the Michigan State game when we got beat, and Raftery didn't remember very well, but Vern did, and he goes, "Yeah, that was a great game," and yeah, it was fun. That was a good
That's
time.
one of the
Vern
more
was
fun weekends I've
the
probably
best.
had in a long time. That was fun.
Then we go back down there with Will. He gets to be one of the guys now, and we lay an egg against UAB, and
I think he went to the
he went to
Eight,
Ohio
too, I
State.
think.
Yeah.
He saw Aaron Craft too. So
Yeah. Yeah, Will was at the UAB game and the Aaron Craft game.
well, like either
You were on
like,
you were at the Hampton game.
Yeah.
which is crazy, like how the game, like the season only comes down to like either like 1 or 2 halves. Like you can have one bad half and like you lose in that state tournament, it's over. And like just like of Jamal Tinsley's senior year, that year was insanely good, but we don't remember as good because he missed one layup at blank layup, and yeah, it's just
That was a disaster.
why
we
it's
got
so-
beat by Baylor in the Big 12 tournament the first round that year.
Yeah,
Too.
the thing is though, after that survived Hampton, they probably would have went to the Elite Eight.
Yeah. Yeah, I
Oh,
don't
well.
know.
We don't need to
That
be
was-
talking about that kind of stuff, but I don't know. There's something about that Thursday morning.
Mhm.
We've got 16 basketball games to watch.
It's pretty fun.
I still remember though, I know I'll drop it, but looking across the table, you were eating pizza at 10 o'clock in the morning in Louisville. And I said, "We don't get beat today, do we?" Looking at you, and you kind of smile and shake your head.
Yeah, because
Good
we
boy.
were gonna meet up with friends, and we're like, "Oh, we'll just meet up after the game."
Mm-hmm.
We never saw them because we were in the car 4 hours later.
No, we didn't. We left the next day.
We almost left that day.
No.
You said verbatim, "We're packing up and leaving, walking back to the hotel." So
And I said, at least Fred's not gonna leave, and they did. So if life tells you anything, if you ever think that he's not, like, you think of something, if you figured something out, it can still go wrong. Because Fred
Well,
left.
let's change it to a positive note. Will McDonald, Xavier Hutchinson.
Will
doing
McDonald's
pretty-
gonna be
doing pretty good at the old combine.
Will McDonald looks like he's gonna be the first overall pick in your lifetime, right?
Yeah,
Once
yeah.
You're like 5 years old or 4
first
years
round
old.
pick in 60 years or something.
His agility drill thing's insane.
He also
Yeah.
broad jumped 11 feet.
And then Xavier ran a 4.5 yesterday too. Yeah, he looked pretty good too. So yeah, it'll be fun. I'm happy for him. I mean, if you know Will's story, you know, he deserves it. He's also a really good human being. Everybody, I don't know him personally, but everybody that I know that knows him says he's a really good guy. So
That's one thing I think goes probably unsaid more is Campbell and TJ have a really good sense of character.
yes.
And it's just fun when your kids they play for each other and they're just good people. And this whole like We Will collective is getting people involved in the community and trying to get them some extra money too. I would say it's a special place. People don't really, outside the Midwest, don't probably fully appreciate it. And even gosh, the media makes me so mad. Like, I'm just trying to go through Twitter to try to see if anyone's talking about the Baylor game. seen a couple shows where they're just like, Baylor senior night didn't have anything to play for. Don't even talk about how we've dominated the game, the whole game. And everyone's just like, I watched one show. They're like, yeah, I don't trust Iowa State. They're still just not very good. I'm just like, you look at the teams we've beat. We beat Texas by double figures. We beat Kansas by double figures. We beat Baylor by double figures. We beat them twice. We beat K-State. Those are all 3 seeds or higher.
Could have swept K-State pretty easily too.
Yeah. So people will be reminded though on Sweet 16 weekend, like, oh my gosh, here's Iowa State again with no talent, no player to individually talk about, but it's gonna be pretty sweet.
Tell you, when you talk about Iowa State being a special place, yesterday I watched the women's game and they interviewed the seniors and they were talking about, when they committed, and I apologize. I can't remember her name off the top of my head. It was our post player, it's a senior this year, and such an Iowa thing. She says she's on campus. She gets offered. Her and her mom go to McDonald's, get an ice cream cone. They drive around the campus in silence, and they go back to the hotel, and she looks at her mom and goes, "This is home." And she committed to Findlay the next day. And it was you might as well just say, I went to Culver's and got a Butterburger and drove. It was such a Midwestern cool thing. Findlay is the same way. Findlay is really good.
But the crazy thing is, like, that's people don't understand. Like, Findlay is obviously knocked out of the park for a long time recruiting. TJ, it seems like anyone TJ offers commits. I don't remember him getting beat out recently in the last 2 classes.
Just on some transfers. That one dude is playing for Virginia Tech.
You drive around a non-Iowan driving around Ames. Like, Ames is probably not the most exciting place these people have been, but there's something about it.
No, there's a lot of parents. when we interviewed TJ Tampa's dad, signing him to Ames, he felt pretty good about, being a long way from home and know he's not going to, you sound like you're sending him to Vegas.
Yeah, there's not a lot.
No, I know, but there's also, I don't know. It's
like we're getting
just
top
cool
golf
because Ames is a small town and Iowa's a small place, but these kids just come here and they fall in love with it. We fall in love with them, and it's just gonna exponentially get better because next year we could average 75 points a game again and just be a real problem.
Can you imagine being a parent and sending your 18-year-old to Vegas to play college basketball, or sending him to LA to play college basketball, or to pick a town? Some of these towns that don't have the greatest reputation in the world, and you're going to trust that they're going to behave themselves, and somebody's going to be watching.
The rest of the country is like, can you imagine sending your kid to Iowa?
Out of boredom, you're not thinking he's going to get shot or get arrested.
No, I know, but
that's a boredom. I take boredom over getting shot any day.
I agree, but that's not the society we live in.
Oh, what's going on?
Anyway, I don't know what we're talking about.
Who is that?
All right,
we're freezing out on our. Yeah. Oh boy, we got an issue with our Zoom.
Oh boy, Thomas is.
This is what it looks like. We're on a crack.
All right, well, we'll just end it there.
All right.
So we need to have some predictions. How far do we go in the Big 12 tournament? How far do we go in the NCAA tournament?
I think we lose the first round and then we win at least one game in that NCAA tournament.
You think we get beat by Baylor?
Yeah, I think we.
Yeah, I don't know. I'd like to predict that we're not going to. Can't stop laughing at this thing. That we could beat Baylor again, but it's going to be really tough. So, yeah, I think all bets are off once we get the NCAA tournament because we're going to get a full week's rest, which we haven't gotten in a long time. So,
yeah, I think we beat Baylor again. Then we lose to Kansas by 8, and then we're playing the Sweet 16 again.
So is this actually recording this way?
Yeah.
So I'm waiting for like a Chinese propaganda thing to pop up or something. This is bizarre. All right. Well,
go Cyclones. Hopefully hopefully Michael's prediction happens.
Yeah. It'll be fun regardless.
Yep. So go Cyclones.
Go Cyclones. We'll see you Thursday. What is going on?